The rain pounded relentlessly on the cracked pavement of Elm Street, turning the world into a blurry watercolor of despair. Harold Thompson, 78 years old with a back bent from decades of factory work, clutched his wife's frail hand as they huddled under the flimsy shelter of a bus stop. Evelyn, his partner of 55 years, shivered in her threadbare coat, her once vibrant eyes now dulled by tears and exhaustion. They had nowhere to go. Just hours earlier, the sheriff's deputies had nailed an eviction notice to their front door, the final nail in the coffin of their modest home. "It's just business," the landlord had sneered over the phone. But for Harold and Evelyn, it was the end of everything they had built. Little did they know, fate, or perhaps the unbreakable bonds of family, was about to turn the tide in the most unexpected way. Harold and Evelyn's story began in the bustling post-war era of the 1950s, in a small industrial town in Ohio. Harold was a young veteran, fresh from Korea, with a quiet strength and a heart full of dreams. He met Evelyn at a church picnic, her laughter like sunlight breaking through clouds. She was a schoolteacher's daughter, orphaned young, who had learned early on that love was the only currency that mattered. They married in a simple ceremony, vowing to build a life together, no matter the odds. But life threw curveballs. Children didn't come easily. After years of heartbreak, miscarriages, doctor's visits, and whispered prayers, they turned to adoption. In 1965, they welcomed little Maria, a 2-year-old with wide eyes and a history of neglect from a foster home. 2 years later, came Tommy, a rambunctious 5-year-old abandoned at a train station. And finally, in 1972, Sarah, a newborn left at the hospital by a mother too young and scared to keep her. The Thompsons didn't have much. Harold worked double shifts at the steel mill, Evelyn took in sewing, but they had love in abundance. Their home was a sanctuary of homemade meals, bedtime stories, and unwavering support. The children thrived under their care. Maria grew into a fierce advocate for social justice, becoming a lawyer in Chicago. Tommy, with his father's mechanical mind, started a successful auto repair chain in Texas. Sarah, the artist of the family, moved to New York, where her paintings graced gallery walls. They called regularly, sent cards on holidays, and visited when they could. But as the years passed, life pulled them in different directions. The kids built their own families, careers demanding their time. Harold and Evelyn understood, they had raised them to fly. Yet, the golden years weren't so golden. The mill closed in the 90s, wiping out Harold's pension. Evelyn's arthritis made sewing impossible. They scraped by on Social Security, their little bungalow on Elm Street their only asset. It was a cozy place, filled with faded photos, worn furniture, and memories etched into every corner. The backyard garden where the kids had played tag, the kitchen table where family dinners solved the world's problems, these were the threads of their life. Trouble brewed when the neighborhood gentrified. Young professionals moved in, coffee shops sprouted like weeds, and property values soared. Their landlord, Mr. Reginald Hargrove, a slick real estate mogul with a penchant for luxury cars, saw dollar signs. He hiked the rent by 50% overnight, citing market rates. Harold pleaded, explaining their fixed income, but Hargrove was unmoved. Times change, old man. Adapt or get out. Court battles followed, Harold, with his trembling hands, filling out forms late into the night. Evelyn baked cookies for the judge, hoping kindness would sway the scales. But the law favored the landlord. Eviction day came like a thief in the night. That morning, as movers hauled their belongings to the curb, neighbors watched from windows, whispering sympathies but doing little else. Harold packed their life into 2 suitcases. Photo albums, Evelyn's Bible, a few changes of clothes. The rest, furniture, heirlooms, went to the dumper scavengers. "We'll figure it out, Evie," Harold whispered, his voice cracking. But inside, fear gnawed at him. Where would they go? Shelters were full, motels too expensive. With no car, they trudged to the bus stop, planning to ride to the library for warmth, then, who knew? Hours blurred into a haze of cold and hunger. Evelyn leaned on Harold's shoulder, reminiscing to keep despair at bay. "Remember when Tommy fixed that old bike and rode it straight into the rose bushes?" She chuckled weakly. Harold smiled, but his mind raced. At their age, the streets were a death sentence. Pneumonia, falls, isolation, they had seen friends succumb. "We've got each other," he said, squeezing her hand. But doubt crept in. Had they failed? Were they alone in their twilight? Unbeknownst to them, miles away, their adopted children were piecing together the puzzle. It started with a missed call. Maria, buried in case files, noticed her parents' landline was disconnected. She texted Tommy and Sarah in their group chat. "Anyone hear from Mom and Dad lately?" Tommy, elbow deep in engine grease, checked his voicemails, nothing. Sarah, mid-brush stroke in her studio, felt a pang of guilt. Life had been hectic. Maria's divorce, Tommy's expansion, Sarah's gallery show. They had promised to visit for Thanksgiving, but that was months away. Panic set in when Maria drove to Ohio unannounced. The house was empty, for rent, sign staked in the yard like a gravestone. Neighbors filled her in. Eviction, bus stop, no forwarding address. Heart pounding, Maria called her siblings. "We have to find them. Now." Tommy hopped a flight from Dallas, Sarah from JFK. They converged in the town, renting a car and scouring streets. Police stations, hospitals, shelters, dead ends. As dusk fell, desperation mounted. "How could we let this happen?" Sarah sobbed. "They gave us everything." Then, a tip from an old neighbor. Saw them at the bus stop on Main. The siblings raced there, tires screeching. And there they were, Harold and Evelyn, huddled like forgotten statues, the rain soaking their meager bags. Maria's cry pierced the night. "Mom! Dad!" Evelyn looked up, disbelieving. Harold's eyes widened as his children enveloped them in hugs, tears mixing with rain. The reunion was a whirlwind of emotions. In a nearby diner, over hot coffee and pancakes, the story poured out. The rent hike, the court loss, the humiliation. The kids listened, guilt etching their faces. "Why didn't you tell us?" Tommy asked, voice thick. Harold shrugged. "Didn't want to burden you. You're all so busy." But Evelyn, ever the peacemaker, smiled. "You're here now. That's what matters." Resolution came swiftly, fueled by love and resources the parents never had. Maria, the lawyer, dug into Hargrove's records. Turns out, the rent increase violated local tenant protections for seniors, something Harold hadn't known to fight. She filed an emergency appeal, freezing the eviction. Tommy, with his business savvy, pooled funds with his siblings to buy the bungalow outright from Hargrove, who, facing bad publicity, sold at a discount. Sarah transformed the spare room into a cozy art nook, filling the house with color and life. But the real healing was emotional. The family spent weeks together, mending bonds. They cooked old recipes, shared stories, laughed over photo albums. Harold taught his grandkids via video call how to garden. Evelyn read bedtime stories again, this time to great-grandchildren. The challenges, neglect, financial ruin, isolation, were met with unity. Family isn't just blood, Harold reflected one evening on the porch. It's the people you choose to love through thick and thin. As the leaves turned golden, the Thompsons settled back into their home, stronger than before. The adopted children made a pact. Monthly visits, financial safety nets, no more secrets. Harold and Evelyn, once evicted and adrift, became symbols of resilience in their community. Neighbors started a senior support group, inspired by their tale. In the end, this story isn't just about an elderly couple saved from the brink. It's a reminder that true family transcends biology and distance. In a world that often discards the vulnerable, kindness and connection can rewrite destinies. Harold and Evelyn's journey teaches us, reach out before it's too late. Cherish your roots. And remember, even at a lonely bus stop, hope can arrive on the next ride. Their legacy, a home not just rebuilt, but unbreakable, a testament to love's enduring power.